Okay, I will now call to order the March 6, 2025 City of South Pasadena Library Community Center Comprehensive Site Plan Ad Hoc Committee. We will now call the roll. Mayor Braun. Sheila Rossi, Mayor Pro Tem Rossi. Here. Kristen Dubé. Here. Leslie Alvin Keel. Here. Alexandria Levitt. Here. Tom Afshar. Here. Rich Elbaum. Here. Tony Ho. Absent. Jean Kim. Absent. Bianca Richards. Present. Victoria Rocha. She's on her way. She's on her way. Dean Serland. He said he may be late. Julie Wang. Here. Jasmine Wong. We do have a forum. So in an effort, the first thing on our agenda is public comment. So in an effort to better manage the business on the agenda, general public comment will be limited to 30 minutes at the beginning of the agenda. If there are speakers remaining in the queue, unlikely, they would be heard at the end of the meeting. And of course, comments, general public comments. Yeah. General public comment can be on anything that is under this committee's purview, but not an item on the agenda. So do I have any public comment? Hands raised in the room? No. So we will close the public comment period. And online. Is there anyone? I mean, on the screen, I don't know. No.
Everyone on the call is either staff or consultant. So you
have a hand up. Okay. Thank you. So the next item on our agenda is reordering of additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anyone have any changes that they'd like to make to the agenda? No? Okay, we'll continue on to the first meaty item on our agenda. Agenda item number 3, which we will turn it over to Dominica Megardicci, who is our Deputy City Manager and a member of our project team. Dom will cover some things, and then we're going to turn it over to the consultants who are with us, and they'll introduce themselves when we get there. And Dom, is Dom there?
I'm not quite sure where to stand in this room.
I know.
Sort of. Maybe I'll make my way around. I'm okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. Dominica Megardicci with the City Manager's Office. The first meaty item on your agenda tonight is bringing back the conversation that we thought we had some really robust feedback and reactions to at the last meeting, which is really making sure that the launch of the marketing materials, the engagements for the public is intentional and well thought out, and really is going to help drive the message, right? And introduce what this project is and answer some of those questions as we first get out. Before I get started, I'd like to thank Rich for being a partner on this and collaborating with us, as well as the Mayor Pro Tem. We worked well throughout the weekend because we wanted to have a very quick turnaround. And really what we're hoping to do tonight is to get some nods, get some feedback as to the final tweaks of how things look and feel, and the verbiage that we're using. We heard you loud and clear at the last meeting that we wanted to revisit some of the keywords, the messaging, the naming of the project is a tricky one for us because we don't want to leave any of the populations out. And so that's an area that we want to get some feedback tonight as well. So rather than focusing on the staff report that I'll come back to, let's thumb through the first of the sample or draft marketing materials. You'll see that the first 4 pages are basically different coloring, but reiteration of the introduction of what the project is, upcoming engagements, and survey. What we tried to do was take away the real estate look and feel of the original draft that you saw last week, and really speak to introducing the project and making sure that at every point that we're touching the community, one thing that we keep hearing at City Hall is we need to right-size our communications. And I think one of the things that's going to really be helpful in lending to that effort is making sure at every touch point, people know what else is coming up. In case they're not able to make it to one thing, they know what the next engagement is, where to find it, and that way they can also continue being involved with it. The mayor pro tem was gracious enough to take a good chunk out of her weekend as well. If you're not following her on Instagram, I need to figure out how to make money off of it because she's got a good following. She engages really well on the social media channels, and she also took a stab at kind of reimagining. See what I did there with the reimagining what this flyer might look like. So really, we wanted to come back to you with a fresh take, some colors. If you've seen over the last couple of years, we've had a branding kit that staff kind of inherited. And if you take a look at this, I'm going to steal this for you. Our abstract broccoli right here in our grayish muted teal color. And so one thing that I heard loud and clear from the mayor pro tem was like, do away with the broccoli, move away from the teal and from the gray. And so we want to make sure it's something that, you know, people are going to know it's the city without it being too dull. So I'd like to open it up to the floor once you take a look at some of these and let us know, is there anything that stands out to you? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Are there areas that you feel like we can tweak? You know, you're all coming to the table with different perspectives. And so we want that feedback because really this is kind of a guinea pig, almost like a test run for us as to how the community might react to it. And the worst thing that we would want to make sure that we're kind of being intentional and thinking about is that it looks like junk mail, that it's something that people are going to bypass. We want people to stop and take the time.
So I was thinking after a meeting that I really like Group 4's materials for their proposal and the images of libraries that exist out there that are new and exciting. And so I kind of like that idea of seeing that kind of image because I think we already know what our library looks like and it's sort of exciting. So I do like that about your thing that it has new images in terms of children or architecture or other places that's not what we have. But I like that. But I also like that you have a bunch of dates on here because everyone's so concerned, oh, it's only April 10th. But this shows you like, oh, you know, that's 6 days and there's more and there's all this other stuff. So yeah.
Thank you for that. I think there's also opportunities to marry elements of things that you might like. As you can see, some of the verbiage we pulled from the keywords and kind of branding and logo things that had been shared amongst this group. Reimagine is something that we really like at the staff and city council level because it activates, it gives a verb, it kind of brings people in. You'll see that the mayor pro tem's version also incorporates the word campus. We were toying with, you know, library, comprehensive, senior. It just becomes very wordy. Yeah. But then also trying to make sure that we're not unintentionally leaving anybody out from the process as well. So we like the upcoming dates and engagement things because that helps put it on their radar. Okay, thank you for that feedback.
Yeah, and I won't give my feelings.
Staff's feelings won't be hurt, right? And I will say at the top of it that this is a one engagement piece. What we're really trying to do is get people to know what the project is, get people to take the survey, and get people to go to the website. The website is also a really great opportunity to incorporate and to kind of be a library, if you will, of those images and to kind of provoke some of those thoughts and things as people are engaging with the project. Yes.
So are we thinking between these two?
We can marry them. We can think about what elements we like about them. We can pick one.
You don't like you can see which ones you don't like. It makes it easier.
Yeah.
Color like there's a couple of color schemes that I don't like.
Yeah.
So like, it's funny like seeing it in the. So I was looking on screen to seeing it on paper. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Kathy had a wonderful idea of actually Cantu printed them for us because when we print them at City Hall, the colors and everything, when it's on the paper that's going to be printed on as it goes out in the mailer, it also gives you that look and feel of what that engagement's going to look like.
Yeah, like when we printed it, kind of the stain didn't look like it would look. So we have them printed. And I think that we want changes. Look at this versus the digital one because this is what it will look like.
Yeah, the digital is kind of dark.
It's a little bright. It was very highlighter over the weekend when we were looking at it for a few hours. I will also say the direction and the input that you give us will then translate to all of the marketing materials. And so this is where the ads, the banners, the you know, other elements are gonna kind of mold following this kind of look and feel.
Dawn might put up this, like, for example,
Oh, yeah.
bookmark, you know, so once we pick something, it'll be cascading out to banners and signs and everything.
This is very particular, but this I kind of glossed over when I looked at this part. I was like, I can't even read that.
Okay,
It was hard, but then you had something like this. Maybe you need more icons or something
I
there.
didn't have all the dates.
Yeah, yeah. No, but this was,
no,
this
she
is,
likes
the
the
setup
icons
is
that you
pretty.
incorporated.
I think it needs to go in this section right
Okay.
here. Because that is very hard to read. It needs to be.
And
more
kind of like
simple.
bullets it and. put it
Yeah,
out.
so that was my biggest thing that got me. And the other thing was I even kind of, because I don't know, people don't read, they go skim very quickly. Even I like looked at these dates, I was like, those are great, what is that? Because I didn't want to take time to read this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it needs some sort of title, like
Yeah.
even on the bookmark, like visit us in person or
Mhm.
see us around town. I know that sounds weird, but I'm just like, what is that?
Yeah.
Why do I have a bunch of dates? Like people just go
Yeah.
so quick.
Okay.
Agreed. I think that's the little calendar icons are self-explanatory if you put a label over it that says engagement dates, like come engage with us on these dates. And then you can actually move the survey below and say,
My highlighter.
if you're unable to make these dates, you still take the
Yeah.
survey from home. So I think that would make it a little bit more self-explanatory.
Okay.
I agree with your point on the words. The words in section 1 about and community input and key are actually a little bit redundant in spots. And I think we had actually come across some words last time that we had thought about including, like community, collaboration, connection, about campus, right? So those 4 C's that we were considering. There was gather, grow, and generations were 3 G's we were thinking about. So just some catchphrases that help, that kind of make the text, that help you to reimagine with the text a little bit more, because we repeat the words library and senior center facility in both paragraphs, and we don't actually need to repeat them both. When you do community input, I think that's where you can explain a little more about what you want people to envision, because otherwise you're just retelling people that we want a library and senior center. We actually should remove those words from the second paragraph, because library and senior center is what we have started to see about the project, right? Going forward is what we want people to envision. So I think that's where we need to put some of those newer keywords in the second portion.
Can I get your feedback directly on something? So at the top, if we say the senior center and library campus, so that we're already kind of embedding that name, and then we can refer to it as campus later on throughout the document.
Yes.
Does that?
Yes, because otherwise you use the phrase senior center and library 3 times.
Yes.
First at the beginning, second in the same paragraph, and then third again in the second paragraph. So that seems like a waste of verbiage there.
I like how you say the first paragraph is what we have, and the
Yes.
second one is what we want. So I like using senior center and library first, because people, that's the language they know. And then, like you said, in the second one, you say the campus, you introduce this new language,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
The people are, what do you mean campus? Like they haven't heard it.
Yes.
So it's the second piece. I
Okay.
think that's a good idea.
And then in that case, you can actually even slim down, because again, people don't read words,
Yeah.
people read bullet points, or, even within the text, you can bold certain words, so they're the ones that pop, right? So if you want to have a grammatically correct sentence, you can say the city needs you to hear about, a place where generations can gather, like what are the pieces that you need to grow, such as, so,
Pick after them.
yeah.
Also, I really like that idea of, we start with library, community, and senior center, and then in the next paragraph, talk about a reimagined multi-generational community center.
Yes.
Because that way we're saying, we've got these, and
We're
we can
turning it
have
into
this.
Because otherwise you miss the idea of this also being a youth center, right? As well as a community center, because that's no longer implicit when you've repeated this so many times. Because as a regular person, I'd be like, well, I'm not a senior yet. And, I was actually hoping that we would have this children's amphitheater, but I guess there's no spot for that here in this library. So yeah. And then a lot of these words, I agree with you. I like the icons, but in this case, these words repeat this picture. So you don't need the redundancy of both. So this would actually free up a lot of space.
Sure.
And I do appreciate you printing them out because I think the monotone ones, the all orange, all green, and all blue, just are less visually appealing.
Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards
The blue yellow.
the yellow.
Or-
I mean, that's the one I looked at all of them, that's correct.
Yeah. I think the only problem with this one is it's a very popular Canva background. I see this for a lot of things.
Oh, no, this one I just glossed over this looked like any typical library flyer.
Yes,
Yeah.
so unfortunately, this model has been used to me. I think I literally saw this flyer at Panera the other day for something else.
But we do like the icons from
Oh,
it,
that one.
Yeah.
Also,
right?
the
And kind of
images-
splitting it out.
The images don't feel very representative of
Yes.
South Pasadena.
But this is just this template though.
Yes.
This for now.
This is the template with shorter words.
But-
I think first, like on the coloring stuff, but because we have.
Yes.
So maybe the easiest way to do this is say
Rule out.
which colors are we doing.
Yeah.
So I will hold this up.
Yeah.
We're all good.
Yeah.
Okay, out.
Green out.
Green is out.
Great.
I'm gonna make one comment. I think this is pretty. I'm gonna make one comment of next to all of our other South Pasadena.
It might get lost.
Yeah.
Because this is the color of a lot of
Because our branded materials. So
Yeah.
I actually really like the look of this. I'm concerned.
I do like the one next because it kind of makes it pop, but still brings the blue out.
Right.
But
So I will hold on to this one, but I will bring this.
That one.
I like that one.
I like
I
it.
You like this
it.
one?
Yeah.
You're gonna have to narrow down. You're gonna have to.
This is
I'm
very
highlighted.
Very highlighted, very highlighted.
How about this? I'm gonna start giving you guys double choice.
Is this like the eye exam?
Yeah.
Good one.
So the multicolor over the orange.
Yeah.
Rule out the monotone orange. Can we just
Yeah.
take that one just off? Yeah,
Okay.
Because that reminds me of the high school.
yeah. And I think we can
Yeah.
rule out the monotone blue.
Monotone.
Yeah.
I like the blue background on the calendar pages more than the washed out blue background on that one.
It's because of the white border. If you notice, the strong point of both of these is the white border around the calendar. From far away, it makes the calendar visual pop out of the blue
Yeah.
Right, I'm
background.
gonna
So-
hold on to this for a
so-
second.
Combine the two.
We're gonna come back to
Well,
this
I'll
section.
pause there. So, sorry, the contrast. So when
Yes.
we are looking at a digital version of this one, it has to be
Highlighter.
blue.
You-
Or blue and black, because this is much lighter. So the contrast has to be different. This is a much darker blue, so the white is what you have to have.
That's what I'm saying. I like that darker blue.
Yeah.
Have the white.
Having the white
Like
pops because you have the
Like-
white background for the text
I'm gonna
here.
focus you guys here for a second. We're gonna focus. We're gonna narrow down focus to these two,
Yeah, that's what's happening.
right?
The contrast just makes it stand out.
The one on your, this one, yes.
All right, coming back.
Yeah, I'm not like super, but it's just the,
other duty
Like a
of
design.
design is mayor pro tem.
That's like a combo. We put that blue into that highlighted blue.
So marry that blue into here.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Cause so one of the basic design rules, if you're gonna have white background with black text, and if you're gonna do a dark background, then you want the white text to stand out. So that's why you're gonna get the yin yang effect if you make the darker column the other side with the white. With the white text. That's wrong.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Use a
appealing
dark-
to your
you
eye.
also use a dark blue
It's
text,
a
right, instead of
color.
black.
Yes, so
You can also bring in like the dark. blue.
This is what it'll end up.
yeah.
You guys, I also want to show you, like, I played around with these, the boxes, like, we don't necessarily need 2005 6 times
We can-
in a row,
yeah, we
right?
can-
yes.
know, so
Yeah, you can just do April.
these
Yeah.
might be a little, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you
you
can.
guys will
Yeah.
you might be able to, just so you
Yeah.
try.
All right, sounds good.
Is this the look and feel
On that one though, the green, this.
on a
yeah,
green?
I like the green better because it's more, it's got more
We
color.
like the brightness on that one.
The gradient lends for other marketing pieces too.
Yeah.
We can pull from,
I like the gradient.
because we can create kind of a branding color wheel with this.
And I think it, that whole like rainbow effect lends itself more to the like imagine effects, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I agree, the downside of that kind of grayish blue is that a lot of South Pasadena
Look, there you go.
flyers are branded with that. That was
It was
fast.
done, no, high five. Beautiful,
Beautiful.
all right, so we will, just clean up the verbiage, we'll bring in the keywords. We will make sure that it's not redundant here, so we'll introduce it as the senior center and library campus. Take out the redundancies, and then as we talk about imagining the future, use more of the generational gather, kind of.
Community, collaboration, connection,
Yeah.
generations, gather,
Grow,
grow.
engage,
I think-
generations together.
We'll incorporate the icons here,
Mhm.
and we'll make sure that this isn't redundant, and we'll kind of activate this area too. Join us or come see us in person or what have you.
Okay, so
Good.
on the screen is what you.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
You are so.
Different, but that's what it looks like.
Do you mind popping it like a little bit?
Don't mind, bottom has the school district's disclosure that we have to put on flyers.
Oh, you're.
So that will be where we put the city logo when it's not going to the school district.
One thing I'd also like your take on is the whole South Path Forward, right? We have so many engagements, so many big projects happening across the community at the same time right now, that we're kind of chewing on this idea of how are we gonna brand and kind of get that out to the community? And
No, I
so
like that. That's
It's an
a strong
opportunity.
statement, yeah.
to also say this is an initiative under South Path Forward,
Mhm.
the golf course is an initiative, you know what I mean? Like there's other opportunities of kind of tying in all of this so that it's community-wide and it doesn't feel so disjointed. There's an opportunity, it might lend in the future as we're building out some of these things as well.
And I like the reimagine.
One thing I'm wondering, we're saying reimagining our library plus senior center. Do we need to also say plus park? Because we are kind of, I mean, a lot of people just, for them, the park is
So,
more important than
yeah.
any of the
I
buildings.
just think that the one thing is white space.
I know it's gets
and the
wordy,
thing
but-
that is, you
but-
just really have to be careful from a, you can tell me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong, but from a design perspective, is just putting too many words.
I understand, and it just seems like, because we're gonna affect the park, a little bit more so than,
But this one is,
Yeah, I think-
so,
Says,
the
I'll
library
meet
senior
you-
center community campus. To try to like talk about the whole campus area.
but.
But Tom, when somebody says, I'll meet you at the library, we seldom say, I'll meet you at the library park. They say, I'll meet you at the library, I'll meet you outside.
But if you ask people what they do, how they use this area, they're gonna tell you they use the park.
Right, so I'm gonna do a word thing. So this is library and senior center community campus. It's one way of saying it. Or you wanna say library and senior center and park?
I like library park
You had
campus.
a sentence in the. amount of-
But that's library, the library campus is kind of what the campus concept is something that comes in the future. Right now, we're just dealing with what's there. What's there is the library, the senior center.
So I understand what you're saying. So under the first paragraph where we're reiterating what currently exists, right? We're reimagining our library, senior center, youth center, and community spaces into a vibrant hub, into a campus designed for generations to gather and grow, right? So this isn't just a renovation, it's an opportunity to envision our future as a community. And then we need your voice to help us shape this transformation, share your ideas, your dreams for our community's vision. It's a place where we can, where our community can collaborate and connect, right? So I understand what you're saying is to enter all of those little pieces into what currently exists in this first part. We can reduce this verbiage down here, which is reproduced. And then under this portion, where we kind of list the different ideas, one way we could reduce just that block of text is, instead of this being a text block, we could make it a visual, right? You can do when you do that, there's this like team building activity where everybody types in their thing and you have like different words that pop up and it makes that word.
Oh, the word cloud.
Like, right, yeah, the word cloud. So you could have so instead you could have a visual of a word cloud of these things as a possibility. So that might be something to consider.
Right.
I would say less is more
Yeah.
in this case, and I know it is a park, but, short of saying we're not chopping down the tree, everyone, I think.
That's just a big asterisk for the
Yeah,
chopping.
right, no chainsaws, but, no, it is, but hopefully maybe that'll bring people there and so they'll be like, Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just.
one of the challenges that just is,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
the mayor pro tem said, is
It was
you only have really
So-
long to get people to the meetings, and then we thought there would be on the website a pretty extensive FAQs where we can address all of these things, because there's so much even just on the flyer.
Yeah.
One other
That's
just
good.
quick thing, but pretty minor, if there's space, I would suggest next to the dates, also putting the day of the week, because people tend to organize their lives like, oh, Tuesdays are for this. So-
I think, she did
Some of
that,
them, oh, yeah.
right there on top.
Yeah.
Even for the others, but
It's different
yeah, if-
format.
if there's-
We just need for all of them. Yeah, and we just need to delete it. That's the way.
I want to say one thing, which is, I know the language about just renovation.
Yeah.
We thought that might be premature, right? We haven't heard from the community about what they want. Maybe they don't want, you know, any building, and we don't know about funding. So we thought it might be better to just stay away from, you know,
Making
I think we
A
can.
commitment.
Yeah, I think we can convey that this is this great opportunity to imagine and run, but not.
And I agree, because a lot of the message that people have to understand, so they're not getting frustrated with these master plans. Part of the reason we're doing master plans is because you have to do one to get funding. So it's, I don't want people to necessarily feel like, what happened, right?
Mhm.
So 'cause we gotta go out in some very uncertain circumstances,
Yes.
environment right now about funding.
Yeah.
So.
So those FAQs are also under development. Staff is drafting those.
Yeah.
Really, this is the first engagement to get people to the website. So another area that I would like your feedback on. We need to create a dedicated email distribution so people don't have to remember who all staff is that's involved in this. At the city, right now we have, this is just a placeholder where it's site-plan at southpasadena.ca.gov. I want it to be something that, I want us to think about something that is easy to remember, easy to refer to out in the community that can also be used for the website URL, a dedicated page. Site plan might get mixed up with Ask Planning or
Yeah.
community development effort.
What about like SP Campus? or
SP
something?
Campus could be one if we're starting to kind of make that a thing.
Is it South Path Forward? Is that available as like a
That would be
larger
cool, yeah.
umbrella? And just as a side note, so I, did a little focus group with my kids, and they agree that it is too much words, and I wonder also if there's other ways to engage, so, the kids are like on Instagram and things like that, and also like, I actually overlooked this take our survey portion. Like on the first one, I saw it on the last one, and so I was like, oh, it's great, there's a survey, so I don't know if there's a way that we can like,
Call it out.
yeah, make it a little bit more obvious.
We'll have room, I think, when we take out.
Well, so we had talked
Yeah, we can
about,
pull it out. Let me borrow
we had
this.
talked about putting a label up here to explain the dates, right? And then we liked this little pull out.
This
So you have that
icon
little
and
white pull out over here,
Yeah,
right?
kind of
So,
activate.
yeah, if you slide this here and you have a title and then you have a little pull out here,
So
it's its own special thing.
Dom,
Melissa's digesting. So she can do
when you're asking about the URL, are you asking about URLs for all of the site plans or for this one specifically?
this specific.
Then we shouldn't go with South Pass Forward because that's, we're looking for the bigger umbrella of everything.
It doesn't exist.
Forward.
Yeah, under it, we can have like sub,
Yeah.
library,
Okay.
whatever it is that we
Campus.
want to call it, the library, yeah, South Pasadena. South Pasadena.
Well,
Our
Right, you don't want to be.
South Pass
so long,
Campus,
you-
I think you go with library or library park and that could be where the
I mean,
the
library
park comes
park.
in.
Yeah, South Pass Library Park.
South Pass Forward / library park. Because if you're in South Pass. I do, but that's a lot of words. I like library park campus. That's what I think the whole
Very
thing
long URL.
is.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Maybe random people.
Sorry, I would say-
Like, are we unintentionally leaving out the senior population with the senior center?
Yeah, I
And
agree.
so we were kind of
Yeah.
chewing on that as well, but I want to get your feedback on that because we don't want to miss any.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about the URL isn't for the branding. That's just make it simple and all of that. It's more how the website is designed.
So we'll leave out the senior population, is having to type all of those.
Mhm. Right.
They're gonna spend time at URLs, it's
Yeah.
just a click through, I mean.
Well,
give them
the
the idea.
So you're thinking of doing, instead of using southpassca.gov, you're doing a new site, maybe that's
It would
called
be on the
South Pass
gov.
Forward?
So we have the website,
Okay.
but we'd be able to do a dedicated page on it. Like if you go on it right now, there's a Windstorm 2025 page and then it has different things under that. So you would be not having to put in a whole long URL. It could just be / whatever the,
LPC.
yeah.
Like the last thing on here,
Actually,
just,
that's-
it's the regular
Yeah.
domain, and then whatever we come up with
Okay.
at the end.
Mhm.
Got it.
would
And then
just
also
go.
make it easier, so when people go to southpassca.gov, it would already be, it's called like a hero image, like one of the first thing that comes up and it kind of scrolls, there's 3 or 4 of them. It would live there, it'd be easy to find even off the first page if you don't know where to find it necessarily, so you're not going on a treasure hunt.
So we're trying to figure out what's gonna happen after
So
this
the
last.
forward slash.
Yeah,
LPC.
That's-
LPC, I mean,
Yeah.
you often see people just use like an acronym for that, because it's just,
Yes,
you know, it
Easier to
doesn't need to
remember.
this
communicate.
is long
in
enough.
masks.
South Pasadena CA.gov is long enough.
Mhm.
So,
And if we're gonna
But you're
go
saying
to
like
campus, then just
southpassforward.org.
Yeah, let's just
slash.
start campus.
So it would be
LPC.
southpasadenaca.gov /
LPC.
LPC,
Oh,
Library Park
So
Campus.
forward LPC.
/
And then we'll
LPC.
just build that out, we'll say it enough that people will associate library park campus, library, if we're
'Cause
trying to get
it's
them to
being-
that place, that makes sense.
There it is.
And everything that's here at the Library Park campus is the youth center, the senior center, the library, the community center, the community rooms, all the stuff at the Library Park campus.
So do we want Library Park Campus at southpasadenaca.gov?
I think.
Just- Nobody wants to email it. Okay.
Just keep it very
Yeah.
simple, like. yeah.
I think people are good with, I feel like we've been sitting here a lot talking about the word LPC, but I don't know, it's some acronym ABD or LP.
You're right, they won't, but you often see this in the URL, is it's just something to get you to, that isn't, you don't try and do that. If people they're either gonna be copying it down or typing it in from that. And then when they get there, they'll see, so that,
Or being led to it.
Or
to
link.
try and make the URL, in this case, because we already have such a long thing, to then also try and make the URL kind of to communicate our message is gonna be kind of, I think it could be self-defeating, because you just wanna make it simple for people to get there.
That's why I was gonna, the last piece I was gonna say is, but it's campus a little easier to remember. Is my only thought
Campus,
versus
Forward
acronym
Campus.
or campus. At least
Is
it's a different word.
that the school? Are they putting the university in?
Okay.
Because campus by
Okay.
itself is confusing.
Yeah,
well,
so
I think we're
reimagine.
working
our
way towards what it's gonna be, right? So it's a process.
Okay.
Yeah.
As long as we can help people get that. Because I don't know about you with acronyms, you're like LOL.
No one's gonna remember it anyway.
Okay.
These people tend to get the URL.
Remember anyways.
No, just hit the URL.
But I think I agree with you in part, like, I think maybe like those 3 words should be together somewhere on the left-hand side,
Yeah.
like library.
Because if you don't
campus,
have that, people are gonna be
wondering.
Yeah,
like,
where did that come from?
LPC?
Yeah.
On the website itself should of course talk about the Library
So
Park
you
campus.
guys are talking, wait, so let's.
There's a difference between the
So you're
URL
talking about up here.
and the website. The website you'll have everything.
Our Library Park campus, like,
Yeah.
where's the you want?
So we're thinking, like, in our title, right, we want to invoke people's imaginations just from the title going forward, right? So the title should pull down visually to whatever our URL is. Here, we're gonna explain the current senior center, library facilities, senior center, library facilities,
So
a
do you-
community space
so
is
the-
going to get
So the
reimagined.
title, let's focus
Yeah,
just
so
title.
title.
So do we want the title to be reimagining our library and senior center? Do we want it to be reimagining our library park campus?
I think that's the moment
Yeah.
to start.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I like that better.
Well, I like it better too, but the question is, are we trying to take people from where we are to where we're going? If we say reimagining our library park campus, that might confuse people
We are
if
doing-
we don't set it up.
So technically, the verbiage would be imagining our library park campus, because you can't reimagine something you haven't, right? So you would
create it.
Yeah, so we currently have reimagining our library senior center, but what we're saying is that we could push that down here, because otherwise you're reinforcing library senior center multiple times, whereas you want to already bring up the idea. So you want to engender that idea, and when people are like, what is this library park campus? Imagining our library park campus. What is the library park campus? About the project. This is the library senior center, blah, 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 is going to get re-envisioned, and then we have the like imagine word, the cloud idea words down here, which is the generations gather, grow, library park campus, reiterated again. So that way you'll have it across 3 different spots.
Is it
So now
A
I'm gonna
campus
bring it
or
back
our
to choices A and B.
Yes.
Okay, reimagining the library park campus or reimagining library and senior center. Those are your choices.
But I like the point that it is not reimagining.
So it should be imagining the library park campus.
Don't do the re.
Yeah.
So-
And it's the, not
Yeah.
or
The,
our.
I
yeah.
like
Our nice.
very.
Yeah. Okay. Imagining, so can option A be imagining our library park campus?
No, I'm just kidding.
Mention then senior center in there further down.
Yes,
Yeah.
so then immediately under the about the
Then you
project,
can
it'll
go
say
there.
senior center and library facilities, and then we can say,
The
and.
campus, the campus at the heart of our.
Actually, I just wanted to park up here, so I'm putting that.
Happy now.
I like the idea of like the headline,
Yeah.
just to, and I don't get too into the weeds here, but in a way, it's still, I wonder if it still should be reimagined. Because when I see imagining it, I'm thinking, well, isn't it already there? And in a way, it is here, it's fairly limited, right? It's the library and the senior center. And so given that what we're asking people is to take kind of, here's what we have, and then how can you, certainly it is reimagining. It's not like there's nothing here. So this may be a minor point, but you just give a little bit of thought to that. I'm fine either way.
I think I agree.
I like
That makes sense to me.
Either option A sub 1 or option A sub 2, either or, yeah,
So now we've got a title. So
yes.
Is it too squishy to use reimagine at southpasadenaca.gov and southpasadenaca.gov/reimagine?
I know.
So that it's like an activating.
But doesn't that then speak to every other possible
Project.
plan, the
Yeah.
parks,
We will
the.
ban them from using reimagine.
You got it there first. No, I think if we want to push this library park campus name forward, then we start doing it now, right?
Mhm.
There's only so long we can pussyfoot around the like, well, I don't know, like, maybe other people will have a voice in this, like, right? There's only so many meetings you can have before you have to just come up with a name.
And like you said, we'll describe about the project,
Yeah.
what the library sees.
All right, so we got a name.
We've got a name, we are good. Do you entrust us to make the changes to this? Finalize it.
Yes.
So the right one, that Melissa's working on.
Reimagining.
Not the.
Library.
Reimagine our library park campus. Yeah, our library park campus.
Just a separate point, it was like kind of something that both of us were chatting about quietly over here. QR codes, is it possible just to have one QR code? Just to focus on the survey?
Oh, yeah, not two. Yeah, that is.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Good
You
point.
got it.
Too many codes.
Yeah, so we'll do the icons, we'll have the call out, just one QR code.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like, once you get into the survey, if there is a little thing that lets you connect to whatever explanatory website there is, that would make sense.
Yes. And a blurb to kind of
All from
set as to what
Yes,
it
all
is.
from one QR code.
Yes.
Yeah, because otherwise you're like, I clicked it, but there was no survey.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I think we have, Melissa, are we good? You're nodding. Yes. All right, wait.
I don't want to. The first one where you guys. Like, I'm still like, people tune out.
Too much writing. Okay.
So it says City of South Pasadena, South Pasadena Board, City of South Pasadena. I mean, I'm just trying to free up some space for.
We'll take this top one off.
You have the logo on the bottom.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna take this off too. So we'll
Reimagine.
yeah, we'll reimagine the later. We know that this.
When you imagine it, and you reimagine.
To the second.
If we could do something about the broccoli, I'll be.
So we want to be forward slash.
Forward.
LPC, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that all had
And
to.
then, we just need to find Sublime and ask if we can license their song and just replace the
Good.
LP.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, it's about tune play.
Actually invited in like 1998, but that's okay.
But
It's just, it's getting royalties.
identify the band for the grand opening.
There you go.
Right, yes.
Except that singer's dead. and
Yeah.
Well-
I've sued the movie.
This one is
Dean, if you
good.
could start making friends, please.
It's like, it's bringing the band back
That's
together.
the good singer, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if he's any good.
I think so.
Oh, okay, that's good.
All right, are we ready to revisit? I know that at the last meeting, we kind of did a brain dump of all of the areas that we're gonna be doing marketing and communications efforts. So in addition to Kathy's starting to work on that webpage, hasn't been published yet, we will brand it LPC. The FAQs, we're pulling from previous conversations here and really helping people sink their teeth into it. Staff is taking the liberty of drafting that. Know that what goes on the webpage can be updated and tweaked and right-sized very quickly. And so what we are asking you for is entrusting us to kind of get the ball rolling with it. And then if there are areas or additional things that we need to put up there, we'll put the visuals, we'll put some site stuff so people can kind of start chewing on what it is that we're getting some feedback. Just a very quick overview. So the marketing flyer, we will have hard copies on all of our public counters. We can make it available to the chamber, to any businesses that want to put it out there. A mailer to the residential and business utility accounts is an opportunity to us, so we want to take that up. Translations, as I think Kathy had mentioned, we had reached out to the school district, asked them what the top 3 languages are that they translate to make it available in language. And then G4 has confirmed that once they get to the survey, there's a drop down of different language options, so that they're also doing that. The bookmark, I know that Kathy put a sample up there. That'll follow the look and feel now of this new reformatted kind of look and feel. We have the opportunity of doing kind of sticker clings, although it doesn't always get the same traction. If you can imagine like a window cling as a poster. The posters we can kind of widely share at different facilities and then also make it available to the businesses. And then the usual stuff that you're used to seeing around town. A-frames at different high traffic areas and events, pull-up banners, engagement calendar, all the stuff on the website. Street banners. I think we have quite a few upcoming community events. So I think they have the across the street banner locations already reserved. We'll double check that before we order any. But we have the opportunity of putting a banner up on City Hall. We can do it on either side of this building and make sure that people who are frequenting the facilities can scan that QR code and be led to all this information.
Yeah, I'm gonna send the street banner. I don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
I don't think people are looking up to get that type of information. It is.
That saves us lots of money.
Serious time. I mean, I actually, there was a street banner for Chinese New Year and I still went on the wrong date.
Which one?
The one that just happened. It's
Sorry.
it's really my fault, but because I think the street banner is.
Bypass street banners, we don't want to see it? Or do we want to put it out
I
there
guess
for
it's going
the?
to our homes. If we live in South Pass, we're gonna get these things in our, so at least that's coming. But I think one that is kind of the simple, our slogan, reimagining, whatever we're calling it, could be.
Like one street banner.
Which, yeah.
Where would you,
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you want to put it somewhere here on the campus? I mean, I wouldn't put it on Fair Oaks Avenue.
Yeah, and I think I put it on.
Yeah.
And also if you were talking about possibly doing a pop-up to schools, I went to Beauty Across America on Friday at Aurora Vista, and when I was talking to them about government and whatnot, I did bring up the library, and the teachers were excited and the kids were excited. So I noticed that the open houses are very limited. I didn't know if there's gonna be like days available for them where they could come in and just participate if they want to. We just wanted to send it to the schools, but
The students, you mean, or the
well, the teachers were excited about the idea of participating in it as a civic engagement sort of thing. So whether it's taking that over there or have it as part of the open houses where people can come in and the schools can schedule something. It doesn't need to be a high library engagement, but it can just be like, here's your opportunity, here's how we do it.
I mean, timing wise, could we integrate with the schools open houses? So like hand out the flyers or even do a pop-up at
I think that, right, the city has meetings with the superintendent.
Yes, in 2 Mondays we have a standing ad hoc quarterly meeting with them. It's coming up on March 17th. We can ask them if this is an engagement opportunity for us. We were also talking a little bit about going to an upcoming school board meeting and using up our 3 minutes there and speaking there and maybe asking to be put on a future agenda. So that's another way of capturing schools, but at the schools themselves or
Our timing may be off on that. Open house is March 26th for Marengo.
I don't know. I don't know if we need to be that formal.
Okay.
Like I think there's the formal level, but I think the teachers and schools are really interested. They're like, okay, please make sure to send it to us so that we know.
And that's through the PTAs, right?
The PTAs, or this, yeah, we can do it to the PTA, I guess.
I can reach out to Andrea Fox
Yeah,
too
sure.
and see what the
But
opportunities are
Andrea,
to engaging, yeah.
But I see your point about the difference, right? Because the PTA addresses more the parents.
Yeah.
Engaging the students as a civic exercise is actually a great thing. And actually maybe providing direct materials for the teachers to take a look at, because, there are quite a few grades that focus on, American civics. And this might be a good time just for those kids just to become involved in and maybe have some type of paper version of the survey that they can,
Because I was just telling them about the dates coming up, and they were like, wait, can teachers saying, can you tell us more about that? Because we would like to plan for it. And so they were interested.
Well, there's a question is, can we possibly do a presentation to the faculty as opposed to the students so that they're actually aware of what we're doing? So in case a student or a parent asks them, hey, do you know anything about what's going on at the library? They have information.
I'll ask Andrea.
Yeah, I think Andrew's a very good.
She'll be able to give us resources as to what our options are.
And
That they're comfortable with us.
And let her know that
being
the
involved.
teachers that wrote this were asking about.
Okay, should be. Just so that I'm not spending too much time on this, I've also listed digital engagement stuff. So once we launch, we'll get a press release out, and that press release goes out to distribution. The papers will pick it up, all commissioners will receive it, and then all of you good people, we are putting you to work and going out to the community as well. And so digital, in person, and then we'll also incorporate this effort and outreach kind of as a touch point for all upcoming city outreach events.
And I was just gonna ask, just to follow up on that April 10th meeting. I noticed in the flyer and over here, we have down the open houses from 4 to 6 and the community meeting is from 6:30 to 8. I was just wanted to follow up on the suggestion we had about having multiple time spots, just because 4 to 6 is pretty much traffic hour for everybody, like whether you've got kids and you're shuttling in between practices or you're driving back home from a job, that's probably the worst time to try for civic engagement, because you're not going to get anybody. That sounded really negative. I mean, it will be a challenge for many demographic groups, right? So whether you are a stay-at-home mom, 4 to 6 is not a fantastic hour, or you are a working individual, 4 to 6 is not a great hour. And then 6:30 to 8 is very niche. Again, it becomes very prohibitively difficult for somebody with small children to be able to attend at that time.
Do you have a suggestion on better times?
I think our suggestion as a group 2 meetings ago was if it was possible to have an AM time slot, like after school drop off from 8:30 to 10:30, to target those stay-at-home moms.
And the senior population.
And the city population, but then maybe somewhere around an early noontime, so before school lets out, so you can hit that group again, but you can also get anybody who has a lunch break around then, right? So in that 12 to 11:30 to 1:30 timeframe, you would have potentially people who are on a lunch break and could stop by, and then having that evening time slot from 6:30 to 8. So having 3 time slots across the day, and then you can do a more limited open house hours, because open house just means that team 4 is available and the boards are up, but the presentation is slotted for 3 different times.
So I guess I'm wondering if they have a longer open house where the team 4 doesn't necessarily need to, the boards are up, but people can wander through a self-directed open house. And then you have those different presentation times that are the actual presentation.
What if we do 8:30 to 1:30? Gives you a 4-hour, 5-hour block. Cool. And then actually have the presentation in the evening. And then we can also clarify that it's more fluid, come and go, and you're not locked in for those few
I think
hours.
the downside of having an entirely self-administered process is that you're going to have people asking the exact same questions at staggered intervals, right? So when you have, if you have representatives standing there waiting between 8:30 and 1:30,
So I wasn't saying with representatives, I was saying that the ability, I guess, for them to, maybe that's the difference, of the ability for people to come in and feel like they can engage with the boards, but not necessarily have the presentation, but keep the presentation times limited, or the guided
Well,
Yeah.
what if I mean, that's a nice choice of times, but I think 2 would be okay, and maybe lunchtime and post-work time would hit. Some people just aren't gonna come, no matter what we do, and if the open house is swags between there in some way, or start early.
Or is it just that
They're more just
all the
there.
people have the opportunity to come in all
Yeah.
day, but our formal presentation times are this?
Yeah, those would be the 2
I mean, the
times.
boards are gonna, like, we get 500 to 700 people a day in the library. So all of those parents that
Okay.
can't
So
come,
these are
you
the
know,
presentation times.
yeah.
And then, so on the April 9th, that's a Wednesday, right? Is there a reason why there's like a weekend slot perhaps, or like tied to the farmer's market? So it's like a dual.
I think there's no parking when there's a farmer's
Yeah,
market.
we put it in Thursday.
And then
It showed
previous-
that people are already here for the farmer's market, so I think that's, the Thursday farmer's market's actually a great time because people are already here.
If they're not in here, they may not be coming
But a lot
there.
of people.
So, when we have hosted Thursdays, we have gotten complaints over no parking. They want to go to the farmer's market, so now we're impeding on them being able to
Okay.
go to the farmer's market. Which was why we had moved it, we had originally scheduled it for Thursday, but we moved to Wednesday, Thursdays instead, so we weren't interfering and there wasn't people not arriving because they couldn't find parking or they couldn't have access. to it.
We also get a very large amount of people that come from out of the city to the farmer's market.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be diluting,
Not in this area.
So it's a different cost.
you get a lot of people coming, and they're gonna, what's going on, they'll wander in, they'll think it's a.
But like, there's the crowd of the farmer's market at one end, which tends to be from different parts of the city, but people in this area tend to be more local. But they come to the library park and you know, Tom and Bianca, I've seen that as well. We're more localish here. But I think having, as long as we have the boards out. As
So
long as we
Melissa
have
said the
that.
boards are up, but I want to make sure that there's a way of capturing if they have questions or
Yeah.
activated, so it's not just this
Passive thing. And those
passive
people will
thing,
walk
it's
by
static
boards.
versus
Yeah.
dynamic. So maybe this is where we turn to G4, with the boards, hello. With the boards, being up for a longer period of time. How do we create where people are kind of interacting with it? How do you make it more dynamic? Where if they have questions or they want to provide input, is there a way of them connecting with you or making sure that they are able to do that?
So typically we were planning to have the boards up throughout the whole time the survey was available for self-guided access, and that could be in the library or in other locations. If there's a large event going on at City Hall or the senior center or the community center, the boards could get relocated. If they have questions, we usually attach, that would be where we would introduce the email so they could address their questions or go to the city's website for, frequently asked questions, or hopefully those questions that are already answered. And if that doesn't help them, then of course the website. We do have the community pop-up. So we were already planning to go to the farmer's market twice and have the boards available at the farmer's market. So we had opportunities. I think we had indicated, Kathy, the third, right? They're both on there, and two of those 6 dates on the flyer were the farmer's market. So we were already planning to go there. So we weren't trying to compete with the farmer's market. So give them their own particular time. And so the open house was a way that we would be actually in attendance and manning the boards, and they'd have a conversation with the architects and be able to talk with us directly. I think we had proposed an open house and 2 formal meetings, one in the evening and one in the morning, if you look on the flyer. So we had an evening on Wednesday night, and then we did have a Thursday morning. We're happy to adjust the times to fit with your community and what's going to really get people to go there, and happy to adjust the open house as well. So we were already planning to do, I think, as it was stated, a 2-hour open block, 4 to 6. We can move that. And then we had that evening one on the 9th, and then we had the morning one in the 10th. So that, in addition, we had the music festival and the extravaganza. So we were trying to do a number of different locations, and in some cases going to people, in some cases asking them to come to us. But at all times would there be self-guided tours of the boards in the library, or could be moved around. So we could duplicate the boards as many times. And as we stated before, the boards really mimic the survey, right? So they're already engaging, they're asking you questions, they're asking for your feedback where you're putting dots and hopefully being interactive in that way.
I'll just add one comment, because I think I'm hearing concerns about like self-guided. When it is here, there are staff here, and the staff is aware of the project, and they can provide additional support if people have questions. So I think the concern over they're just interacting with the board, there is always an opportunity for them to ask about that board to staff that's present at these self-guided opportunities. And staff can direct them to the website, to the survey, and to anything additional, the email that can be forwarded to G4, and we can get clarification on any complex questions. So even though it's self-guided, there's always going to be some sort of support around it.
So the one,
I guess make sure I understand though, like the boards are kind of a separate thing than the open house where folks are able to actively engage with people. And I think that's such a valuable opportunity that is asynchronous collaboration, like at least in part possible, because I don't know, this just seems very limiting. And I don't know, like my professional world is in academia, and to get students, I often have to draw them like by like two things, like they're coming for, you know, the farmer's market, for example, and they're also there to do something else. So I don't know if there's something significant happening on April 9th and April 10th, that's great, but I don't, is that?
so I guess the question that asks going along those lines, keeping the dates that you have and the times you have, but on Thursday, that farmer's market time, and when we talk about farmer's market, there's two different meanings of farmer's market. There's a booth over in the farmer's market, and then there's a farmer's market activity that happens around this campus, which is significant. So being able to like have maybe, you know, the boards and people around the camp, the outdoor in the park area to actually capture people.
We already told Lori we didn't want the booth, you know, the city booth is way over by the train station, and that's not our neighbors necessarily. So we were thinking like set up just on the corner of Diamond and El Centro.
That's a great spot.
Yeah, you know.
And a lot of families that really come, and that way it's not people who just actively go into the library, but it's people who use the campus.
So I think I'm getting confused. I think we're conflating different things. I thought we were talking about the open houses where group 4 is going to be present to answer questions, make presentations. And now it sounds like we're getting into just all the times that the boards are going to be out and available for anyone to walk by, and how that will be confused. So I'd like to circle us back and focus in on the actual schedule or schedule for the group 4 participant activities. And I like the idea. So if I'm hearing it correctly, you already have it structured that there's a morning one to grab people who can't come to the evening, and an evening one for people who prefer that. I think the key point that I liked about the evening one that I mentioned before was if instead of it being just one block of I guess I can just look at you here. I don't have to look up there. One block of open house and one block of presentation, divvying that up into an open house presentation, so that it has the ability to capture people who come in late or come in early, get the same. It's easier for me to look at you. To still feel like they've gotten the whole presentation as opposed to only half of it. That was the thing that I like, and if we can do that both in the morning and in the evening, I think that we'll get. I personally would find it more. I'd feel like I was participating more than just, oh, I missed it. Oh, cool.
Yeah. Well, can you guys G4 that and speak to and we're gonna go over this. They have some slides, but what does that hour and a half community meeting look like? Because it's not just sharing information. There's an interactive, piece. So I think we want to give people enough time. We don't want to be like, you only have an hour to have this experience. Like typically, I think when we do community meetings for these big projects that come and it's intense and it lasts long enough that people really get to participate. So my only concern about
well, yeah, I'd like to understand what that is. So maybe we can get off of the trying to micromanage the timing of it and get into what's actually going to happen, so we're aware and communicate it.
Yeah. So the question was, just make sure because it's been a kind of splintered there, so I want to get back on what the focus was here. So the open house is generally held prior to the meeting, and this is an opportunity for those who can't commit to the hour-and-a-half meeting to come by and have those conversations. Now, hopefully we can provide that at both community meetings. Is that what I was trying to see? Is that was sort of some feedback is to try to not only have a single open house, but each of the meetings had an open house component. And I think that can easily be incorporated into the schedule as well. So I think if that has greater flexibility with the community and their availability, then I think we can look to incorporate that in the morning and in the evening session.
I think what Kathy was saying just now was that you have slides that can walk us through what the actual presentation would be.
No, we don't have the slides. We're working on the slides, yes, but I don't believe, Kathy, we haven't shared those with you. We can
Not the
bring
actual
those.
slides, but
Yeah.
So maybe what I heard, hi everyone, I'm Dawn Merkus, also with Group 4, and there's 4 of us here tonight. How convenient. But so the format of the community meeting is interactive. I think that's what Kathy was mentioning. And so we do have like a 25-minute presentation, just get everyone on the same page, share the background, make sure everyone understands why we're doing this, the need to do it because the conditions of the facilities and the size of the spaces. So try and give everyone the same background, everyone on the same page, and then we break out into the stations. And so really the stations are going to ask the same input that the online survey does, but we're able to capture and I'm sorry, I don't know everyone's name, but somebody mentioned the beauty of having the collaborative responses and hearing your neighbors and hearing what other people says really generates ideas and feedback. And so we'll have 3 stations and we'll interactively have each of those stations manned, and then people will rotate through them 20 minutes about each, and then we come back, summarize to the group what each of the stations heard from each of the different groups, and people get to hear everything. We don't always break up into groups, just depends on the size of the meeting. And the reason to break up is because you have more one-on-one time. If you have 60 people and you all stay in one group, you get only 1/60th of the time to listen and talk. If you break into a third, you'll get a 20th. And so it's just much more effective that way. And then come back at the end of that and summarize, and we'll stay at the boards and answer questions. It's usually people really enjoy this format, and we collect lots of great input and insight. So that is the community meeting. It's not, a 60-minute, 40-minute presentation, then Q&A. It's interactive throughout.
That's good to know. I still like the idea of the morning one and the evening one parroting each other as opposed to being different from each other.
I think that's the problem.
Andrea said that's easy for us to do. Happy. And the whole reason we try these different things for different communities is really to get what works for your community. So we love that you guys are really getting into this and really kind of helping us come up with the outline that you think will be most effective and available access, right, for your community.
So looking at our flyer, I think what through a team's Group 4 is saying is, right now we have for Wednesday, April 9th, we have open house hours 4 to 6 p.m. followed by the community meeting 6:30 to 8. And then on April 10th, the following Thursday in the morning, we have the community meeting from 10 to 11:30. So to Dean's point, like if we add in the open house hours before then, we'll catch the group that has that earlier morning availability. I think that would be helpful. It might, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there, be helpful to consider the nomenclature of community meeting. Because when I see a 90-minute meeting, I think, well, I'm going to skip through the initial, like if I'm running a little late, it's okay if I just sneak into the last 30 minutes, because that's when the good stuff happens anyway.
We should call it like a workshop.
Yes, I
Yeah,
think
workshop.
turning into a workshop.
Interactive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, some type of interactive workshop will help
Yes.
people know like, oh, I'm committing to something and I can actually really
Participate.
participate in.
And I'm not just listening for 90
Yes.
minutes. Yeah, we wanted to call it a workshop. I don't know how.
Yeah.
So workshop it is.
Interactive, you would call it.
Yes, I like interactive workshop.
Yeah.
Updating in real time.
Yes.
And we will welcome anybody when they come at any time. So the format lends itself that they can kind of catch up and go around, or they can stay later and we'll fill them in. So it's there's usually enough of us to support it to keep everyone engaged.
Oh, I was just, it's wordy, all ages interactive workshop, probably too much, but just interactive.
I just have a comment. I'm just still lost on the open house. I just don't think that it just throws me off. Like we talk about community engagement, a community meeting. So what is an open house? I mean, it just seems like, do we really even need to use that term?
Well, it means that people can come in and see what's there.
I think it's exactly,
The actual
yeah.
presentation.
I think it's literally like a real estate open house, right? You walk in and you could talk to the real estate agent, or you go like, oh no, we're fine, and you just like walk through the rooms yourself, and you're like, oh yeah, their closets are way too small, we're not leaving.
When you invited us to the Arroyo Seco, that consultant group, I don't think you called it an open house, did
We
you?
called it a listening session.
Yeah,
They're not gonna be
But they're not listening.
I know, but I think if when we went to the Arroyo Seco, if they had said, come to our open house, I would think, no, I don't want, I would want to do something more interactive.
But Bianca, I think that's why there's two options, right?
That's why
So
there's two
people can either come in for the open house and stay.
No, I'm just saying that it just throws me off, that term open house.
Because then there are other people who were like, I don't want to go to a meeting, but I'm
Yeah.
happy to just drop by for a little bit of time and have my interactive experience and then walk out. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think
And
that's why-
other people have had that same concern about open house, and it's a drop-in session. So I don't know, that's an alternative language that we've used other places as well. I think some people relate to the open house concept, others it's a little foreign, so.
that's where it gets tricky, because like listening session, I don't like, so it's, but everybody has their own thing that resonates.
So what happens during the open house?
Thank you. So that's what I wanna know.
So the boards are gonna be there? Is that the open house?
The open house
Yeah.
boards are
Get
there.
access to
Yeah.
these.
G4 will be there.
Well, that's what I think you should say.
Yeah.
Come meet the consultant.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say it. I think people are gonna say,
You want to do a meet the consultant and
Yes.
interactive workshop.
yes,
Yeah. Thank
get
you.
to the.
I would like, I would like open
I
house.
think open house is still.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea, meet the consultant and interactive
Yeah,
workshop.
get to the point.
Yeah, because I really think people want to interact with consultants.
Yeah.
They want to really know, why are you here, what,
Especially if they're not paying.
Yeah.
Right here.
It's already on my list.
Because open house does feel like you're just gonna be self-guided wandering around, as opposed to being able to come in and abuse you like we do every day.
I can imagine, getting a lot more traffic.
Can't make up
I
hours.
joked about.
learning about what's going on. I think we just need to be direct.
Yeah.
Come, find out what this is all about.
Bianca, in an effort to make it less verbose, to fit it on the calendar, a little icon, can we say interactive workshop with consultants?
But it's two separate things.
The workshop is one thing.
Yeah.
A lot of words right now.
So,
Meet the consultants, right? Or so a workshop and meet the consultants.
Consultants.
Yeah, no, we're dropping open house.
yeah,
So
but
meet the consultants plus interactive workshop.
If the public doesn't understand, but the consultant, what are they doing? What's their role? I think you need to use a word that.
I think you guys already.
Yeah.
I think it's straight up open house or Q&A is another option, but I think keeping it very. I like meet that consultant.
I think too, if you think about, even on social media, right, there's gonna be a graphic that says open house, but then you've got a couple sentences where you say, we have an open house to give you a chance to talk with our experts that are helping us, we can explicate it, in a simple way. Yeah, it's right, there's tons of ways we could say it, and even I think the interactive workshop, I mean, our workshops interactive typically, is that redundant? Do we need to say
Just say
interactive workshop? I mean, right, isn't a workshop typically, maybe not though, I don't know.
There's also the option of drop-in,
Drop-in, yeah.
workshop. That's more
No.
helpful, that is a more explaining.
No, because we
No,
don't
no,
want
it's
to
like,
drop
you don't want, because, yeah, because drop-in is I come when I can and I pop out when I'm done.
Okay.
Yeah. We need to let them know that this is a 90-day commitment, 90-minute commitment.
Oh, no, I meant the open
The
house,
office,
in lieu of
yeah.
open house. I just want something short,
So
leave
we'll-
the
yeah.
consultant too long. Something,
Open house. and
I'm gonna go, open house,
Pretty similar.
meet the consultants, A or B, which one?
Open house.
Okay, now, open house, drop-in. I'm giving you these options.
Drop-in is not, doesn't work for me.
Drop out?
Yeah, drop in.
Drop-in.
I mean, I think that's drop-in, you're thinking like office hours. Is
Yeah.
actually what you're thinking of, so, but office hours is strange, because then we're like, because nothing in this lets anybody in the community know that there are consultants actually. Like, I think most people have no idea we have consultants. Most people are assuming that you're gonna talk to like the mayor pro tem, and I guess whoever it is that, you know, or like the library committee. I think this will be the first time people realize that we like hired people just to get their opinions.
Okay.
Open house workshop,
Melissa?
open house one, workshop the other one.
Residents have got a real feeling about consultants. So.
So,
Positive or negative?
I just think people, you know, they just want to know, who are these consultants? What are they doing?
Yeah.
You know, why are we, you know?
I mean, the open house is to have conversations, right? So maybe there's a way to, describe it that way somehow. I don't know how.
I think if we're thinking pithy, open house still is pithy, right? Because everybody who lives in South Pass at one point in time had to go to an open house to buy the house, to be here, right? And so most people know that an open house, like you can walk into, you can look around, you can ask questions from the real estate agents or not, and you stay as long as you want and you come and leave as you go. I think open house isn't as ideal, but I think if you're gonna go for something that will fit here, open house still captures the highlights.
I think open house is the easiest way to go, and it is, when it is less formal, and the workshop's more formal. It's simple language.
And again, you know, open house and then meet the consultants, right? I mean, we have to pick something, right? We can beat this horse to death, I think.
I think you're right. We can write this.
I do ABC.
Maybe there's a header above these two things that say meet the consultants at the open house or the workshop. I don't know. I was trying to umbrella these
That's right, because we got it.
four events. So, right?
Do people feel strongly about the meet the consultants? Because I have, and again, I realize I'm probably minority here. Since the purpose of all this is to kind of listen to the residents, by focusing on meet the consultants, it sort of gives all of the kind of power and clout to you, which may be appropriate, but in a way you're there to facilitate, to help us listen to the community, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I would like to actually meet your community, but if everyone I was trying to help solve the problem.
Otherwise, they have the answer.
Let's hear from you at the open house or the community workshop is what I would say. Let your voices be heard, you know, or whatever. But that's.
Yeah, like we're really designing by design committee.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I think we stick with the original, let your voices be heard at the open house or in the interactive workshop.
Perfect.
Now,
So workshop, I'm putting a pin in that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that wraps it up in terms of our flyer, our outreach communication plan. Kathy, is there anything further that G4 needs to share?
Yeah, they're gonna talk a little bit about the engagement boards and the survey. That's it. You guys are good. I think Vicki, I shared my screen with you. Are you good?
Can I add one more thing to just the in-person engagement from our committee? That's not on here, that I don't have any touchstone with. I'm just putting it out there to those who are, I guess, our parents. If you have interactions with any of the scouts, Girl Scouts, or Scouts overall, I mean, I think I remember being a Girl Scout and civic engagement being a big topic, but it would be a great thing to have at one of your scouting meetings, because most kids have phones. Hey kids, pull out your phones. We're going to take this survey.
because this is what's happening in your community and it's not on this list, just as a thought. I haven't touched on it, but we want kids' input. That would be a direct way of engaging them.
Yeah, we need the service unit.
Yeah.
Whoever that is. I used to refer, not here. But yeah, you need the
We have a
service unit
contact
leader,
for
whoever that
service
is.
unit
Is that cool? How they
Great.
push it out.
That's awesome.
That just gets you the Girl Scouts.
Or Scout.
Yeah. Scouting USA.
Yeah.
That's the girl, the girl, yeah.
We all. Scouting USA is the boys.
Yeah.
We all know scouting is everyone now.
Yeah.
But it still captures, so you want troops out.
Scouting USA has for both
Yes,
boys and
yes.
everything with me.
That's its own
Yes,
organization.
yes.
I can vouch for Lucy's experience with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts.
We're good. You got it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
rent facilities for.
Got it. We have direct emails to Girl Scout leaders in town. There's, 20 different troops,
Right,
let's say.
but there's basically one Boy Scout troop that gets everybody, so
Yeah.
you want to reach out to, I don't know who the Scout
It's
master
Pack
is.
7 and.
So troop 7.
Yeah.
You want to go
Troop
with that.
7 and Boy Scouts 333. I have a couple of different leaders that I can, but we can connect with them.
Yeah, no problem. Scouts is easy.
Scouts is easy.
We all have.
Really good lunch, and then
Yeah.
like,
I
makes a
just
lot
bought
of
more
sense.
cookies because another person hit me up, so.
And traditionally for Scouts USA, the Citizen Community Merit Badge requires either attending a civic meeting or you can actually invite a civic representative to come speak to the troops. So that's always a popular one. Usually in election years, we have I belong to one of the other troops. So I belong to Troop 5. So we usually get a wide swath of council people who would like to be elected who come and speak. So, I mean, Scout troops always like having somebody over.
New strategy.
I wasn't aware of this in November.
Oh. It's very popular as well.
Don't talk at once, I think it's.
Oh, sorry.
Very hard for them to hear what's going on. Vicky, can you share your screen? I made you a co-host. Is that working?
Yes, I can do that. Hold on one second.
No,
Very
we
low.
can hear the volume.
Very low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very low. when she's speaking.
I can show it as well.
No problem. Almost got it going.
You can't hear you. I
Yes.
don't know why, but we can't hear you.
Barely.
Okay, great. So I think Vicky, we could, or whoever's presenting, sorry, skip to, I think the first couple of slides just talk about all the community meetings and events and pop-ups, and I think we've gone through that. I don't think we need to go back through it again. We've pinned all those items. And I think the last thing we wanted to do is we shared the idea of these engagement boards at the last meeting and how they work. And so what we thought we would do, because we knew the branding was kind of underway, and we wanted to make sure that the survey and the boards really bring in those wonderful branded colors and images. We thought we would kind of just look at the content of the engagement board and make sure everyone was good with the content. And then that would give us, between the content and now we have the direction of the flyers, an opportunity to kind of put that out there and get ready for the launch of this in a couple, well, actually almost a week from now, the 15th. So again, if as you all recall, these boards, we have two ways that we're engaging in. We have the online survey and we have these large-scale printed boards. They follow a very similar format. This will also be, as Dawn was mentioning, the different stations in the workshop that we'll be hosting. So if we go to the next slide, the first thing that we will be doing, well, we're going to go sometimes a little out of order. When we're in the person, the first thing that you might do is fill out some getting to know you questions. When we do the online survey, we actually put these getting to know you questions at the end because we don't want somebody to log into a survey and feel like we're just asking for a bunch of information about themselves. We save that for the end of the survey. But when you're in the in-person, it actually comes in the front of the boards. Some of the questions that we have asked previously, and we wanted to make sure that this is the direction we wanted to go with your community is, first and foremost, are you a South Pasadena resident? And that way we can just understand the type of engagement that we're getting, as whether they're local or visiting the area, especially when we do some of your larger in-person events. We also tend to just ask a little bit of their age in a group so that we could sort of see how or what type of cross-section of the community that we're getting. And so that's a pointed question on both in-person and online. Everyone with me so far? Did I lose anybody?
We're good.
Okay, so a couple other questions we asked. We had this originally as one question. We're kind of leaning towards separating it because there's kind of two specific user groups here. So how often do you use the library? And then how often do you use the senior center? And so this is just trying to get us an understanding of what type of people we're talking to. Are we talking to people that are visiting us daily a lot, like heavy users, or are we getting some feedback from people who've never used the library? And so many times when we report this out, people are asking, oh, well, you probably just talk to people only that use the library all the time. So of course they want all of this. Did you really reach out to people who aren't using the library or aren't using the senior center? And this is a way for us to understand, or making sure, again, that we're getting a good cross-section of the community in the engagement process.
I ask a question there just real quickly to Tom's point. Would it be, I'm just throwing this out, would it be useful to ask how often do you just use the park around
That's
the
true.
library?
Yeah, that's a great addition to this. So I think if that we're trying to engage or understand that use as well, I think we could probably ask that question as well. Okay, and then some of the last question we were wanting to get to understand is how do you get to the site? And I think last time we mentioned this, we added getting those individuals who are just getting dropped off, whether that's a ride share or someone, they're using some type of service or, a parent dropping them off, how many people are walking, how many are getting here by bike or scooter, public transit and or car. So those are the 5. We can always put in an other if there's other suggestions. And then the last one that we do, and we only do this one in the online survey, is talk about ethnicity and understanding, who's filling out the survey from a racial demographic standpoint.
Category.
Yeah, you had to decline to say.
Oh, yes, that's a good one. Yeah, decline to say. Thank you.
Like maybe a MENA category.
And sorry, say that again.
MENA, Middle Eastern or I don't remember. I am that. So whatever.
Yeah, we can work with. We can add additional ones. This is just our starting point. So there's a specific demographic that we need to add into it. Yes.
And then we have a lot of mixed in this community. So just if there's one that's more than one.
Sure.
And then on the one about how do you get to the site? Can you have like a multiple choice? Because like during the day, some people walk, but then maybe at nighttime you drive.
Fly.
And on the weekend you ride your bike.
Yeah, we can say we can have multiple, on the online survey, they can select more than one, and in person, they'll have a series of dots. And so they'll be able to put more than one, they can put dots on all that they get, how all the different modes that they get there.
For using the website, just want to ask, I'm wondering if there's some sort of, tracking or cookies in place so that someone, could someone create a bot so that they just goes in again and again and again and hits it? Is there something that's kind of alleviates that most likely from happening? Just thought I would ask.
I think we can track it, right, Vicky? The IP address of each computer is identifies itself. And so we would be able to tell if that was happening.
I just wanted to make sure that in case someone got really excited, or maybe a 9-year-old kid just went wild one night.
Or a 90-year-old.
Yeah, 90, you never know. Okay, thought I would ask, so that base is cleared, we're good.
Yeah, if we see something unusual, we're like, oh my gosh, we got 500 hits and they all said the same thing, or in one night over like a couple minutes, then yes, any unusual activity would be able to sort and figure out where that came from. We do not restrict the number of IPs, how many often that one computer can do it, because you like the library computer, right? You'd want to do it again and again. So we don't restrict it to be taken only once per computer. Any other questions that we might want to ask that we would want to be able to track that data either in person or online?
We do this a lot, so I would defer to what you think is the important information.
This is usually where we start. We've had some people ask, how many kids do you have, or what's your household income? Like, we've gotten pretty deep in some communities because that was something they really wanted to understand, but these are our top 5, 6.
You mentioned it. Do you have school age children? Bless you. Might be useful, because then you can.
We have the ages, so we ask what age they are.
Not what age they are, but do they have school? Does the person responding? Do you have school age children?
Like, are you using it yourself, or are you using it as a family? Or are you bringing someone?
Yeah.
Had that idea? Is that what you're?
Yeah. Well, to capture that, are we getting people that are, beyond? We can guess that if they're between 25 and 35, that maybe they do, but it'd be interesting to see how many people we get that are responding that do have school age children.
But that only applies to the library. No one's going to bring their school age children to the senior center.
Yeah, going back to the age group really quickly, if you have 65 and older, since we are looking at it as not just the library, but also the senior center.
Yeah, we should break that up.
I think we want to have a little bit more, because it's 65 to 75 is very different than
Yeah.
So I think we need a few more age groups for the 65. Because of your center population, understanding what's emerging versus what's here.
Yeah, 65-year-old needs to be very different from like 90-year-old needs.
Sure. Yeah, we can add additional.
And just confirming, the demographic data is done at the end of the survey. You said correct if it's online. If we are using this for grant funding, getting information as to like whether they're a renter or not, or household income would be important, since survey information will be property of the city. And when I think of renters, I mean, one of my apartments that I rented here, the family across the way had 2 families living in one 2-bedroom apartment because they love the school district so much. But that's like, renters are indicative typically of a lower income. So even if you don't want to ask income amounts, if you're asking if someone's a renter, you start building a case for funding.
Right. I think that's an excellent point, actually, because I think there's a misperception of South Pasadena as being.
Yes, it's 50% renter, and I'm going to tell you they are packed into apartments.
More than 50%. Yeah, I would actually say we actually have a better reputation.
Don't know that.
Oh, really? And
yes, I'm telling you this.
They don't know that.
Amongst the school district people, like people know San Marino versus South
So
Pass.
just to give you an example, Measure A funding formulas right now, there's a formula that has San Marino receiving more money than South Pasadena.
Oh, seriously?
Yes. Seriously.
That's ridiculous.
So, right, because we're like kind of lumped in with San Marino, and then there's some weird things in the indices. So that's why we need to make sure that we start really making it very clear.
Yeah, I had the same thought, and you just said it out loud. So
yeah, perfect.
I think that's a great point. I'm just wondering, we don't want to add too many things to the demographics.
Which is why
I think it's good. Are there any other things that we would regret later not asking that could help us with funders?
I have one that
So I do want to just interrupt here. This is not a statistical survey, so don't want to mislead anyone.
No,
and so
we're trying to capture some data though to help us.
No, that's fine. I just want to make sure everyone's clear that the
So
data
I'll say
we
this
get,
as a grant writer, as a city grant writer.
a storytell. Yeah, this is for
Exactly.
the
When I'm talking
storytelling.
about building a
Yeah.
case, I say that within a survey, we had this many renters that answered, which we know based off of census data, typically then statistically equals to this. We designed our space with them in mind.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Nope, love that. That's perfect.
And I don't know if this is possible, but one of the things I would love to know is, you know, we only have one zip code, right? So you can't say what neighborhood who comes. So I
Correct.
wonder if we could do like your your electoral
To-
district.
to-
They know.
No one knows those.
They might
No
not.
one knows those.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I'm an avid voter and I don't even know.
You'd have to have a map. They'd have to say, where do you live on that?
You have to have the map.
We have put a map up in a community and people put a dot and show us where you live. And we have done that if that's really of interest, because we had the same conversation. People don't know what district they're in. And if you have a single zip code, it's hard. So we could do a map. We've done a map before.
I just think to your point, if we find out that nobody in the Monterey Hills is using the library, I'd like to know that, or the senior center. Melissa?
Quick question, are these questions at the end optional, or do they have to?
Yeah. They're optional.
So if I click, if I do the survey and then I get to these questions and I get kind of turned off, it's like, I'm not going to finish this. Do you still get the data that I've
Yes.
input? Is that still there?
Should be.
They would have to skip essentially.
They
Exactly.
have to
Yes.
finish the survey, right, Vicky? They have to click finish
No,
at the end or no?
no,
Okay.
no.
No, it captures anything that they have put in. Yeah.
So again, just since we're still on this one, I think given this community, you really need to make sure that for the ethnicity, you allow them to put more than one. Yes. We have a very high proportion, and I think that would, people are sensitive about that.
Can I ask, because I've never seen this in a survey, but I wonder if it would be effective for these types of optional demographic gathering type questions, especially since we'll be at the end, which I think is good, so you don't miss out on the meat and potatoes part. Could we put in some scoping language that says, by filling out this optional section, you'll be helping us in potentially getting
Winning
funding?
rounds, yeah.
Because I think that might motivate people to at least stick around.
Yeah, otherwise people are like.
Why do you need this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe to remind people somewhere, or even more than once, that it's confidential. I mean,
Yeah,
there are people that have legitimate concerns
Yes.
about
Yeah.
privacy these days.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yeah, we can add a disclaimer. Okay, well, this is really good feedback, so we can add a few those comments in, and then should be good to get this going. I'm sorry, Dawn, was someone trying to?
No, I was just gonna say, the question about trying to get the messaging. Typically, we wouldn't do this in this initial round of engagement. We really want to understand the needs. And then I think if you're wanting to test some messaging, like in the second round, is where we really start, when we have options to meet the needs, we might be able to start based on, what is most important to you or something like that. It just seems like at this early phase, asking some messaging questions might be premature.
What do you mean by messaging questions?
I think somebody was suggesting that we might start testing some messages, right, in terms of at the end of the survey.
No. They just said put in the language into the survey portion for the demographic piece. By filling these out, you could be helping us potentially
secure funding.
That's it. It wasn't
Oh,
testing.
perfect. Sorry about that.
I'm sure it's unclear. Yeah, just a little contextual thing that maybe encourages people to stick it out and go through those demographics.
Yeah, I heard what you were saying, and then that it's confidential and that this information won't be shared or used.
Before you move on, I'll send you an email too, but for the age, if it's possible to start at 55 a category, because that is when they can join the senior center, and then break it down and how we want it.
We do. We have a 55 to 65, I think, and then 65 plus. Because I knew that, Melissa.
65, 75, 75 plus.
Yeah. We'll do that.
increase the size of this slide, because it's gonna be hard for people to.
We have it.
We have it,
Yeah.
never mind, they have it in their packet.
Yeah. So we had shared some of these at the last meeting, and there was talk of, the library list was seemingly kind of short, and there were maybe more, and then there was a lot of duplication. And so rather than, again, look at it in the survey form, let's just look at the columns. This is the revised list. We broke it up into 4 sections. We have needs that are specific to the library and the services that they provide. Then we put together all the senior and community recreation services and activities. And then we've talked about things that would be shared between the library and community. And then we wanted to talk about site, or we can obviously call it the park needs and activities. And so this is hopefully we don't need to it's a big group. There's a lot of words here. I don't know if we want to champion someone to find this, or we think the list is pretty good. We could spend, I'm sure, an hour wordsmithing each one of these. But I think if we see anything missing, I think it would be good to share that, and then we could try to wordsmith everything and get it consolidated. But I think we just wanted to put it all out here as the revised approach based on what we presented last week. And then hopefully you can see them a little bit better and make sure. I know there was a talk about making sure we had the children's performance space, so that's in there, as well as other community performance spaces. So that's both under library and shared library. And then we even put community performances in the park use as well, in case there were any outdoor performance spaces. So we've tried to capture that specific request while trying not to duplicate things too many times.
Are people ranking these, or are they checking as many as they'd like?
They'll be able to check as many as they like. So check all that you would like.
Do you ever use ranking?
We can. It gets complicated in the survey because you have to move things, and a lot of people don't understand that when you rank things, sometimes you have to move it in a particular order, and people get confused about that. And I don't know what happens when we get thousands of community input is they sort of start ranking themselves, right? You just start to see more people are voting for this and versus that, and that's usually when we get into the prioritization of things or services and needs.
One other just quick comment. Again, I agree, you don't want to wordsmith here, but I would encourage you to go back. There's a few of these, and I'm happy to send an email later, that feel a little inside baseball jargony, that certainly maybe are meaningful to you, but may not be as instantly recognizable to.
Like community resilience.
Yeah, but I don't want to into it, but
Send an email and we'll get it.
I wonder if instead of shared library plus community, that just says shared community, because
sure.
That, and I know I championed this a lot, but only because it came up in the surveying that we did for the 5-year plan, strategic plan for the library, of a teaching kitchen.
Yes, I agree with you. I think that's more culinary arts. Culinary arts, I think, is where that was captured, but I too prefer spelling it out.
Yeah, because culinary arts just not as
explicit.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird mix of like spaces and also then activities.
Yeah.
Right. So it's
okay.
Yeah.
I just want to throw one out there. I could be missing it. It might be too granular, but it was something that was coming big when I was in Girl Scouting, which was a maker's space. And I don't know if people even know what that is. I'm just wondering if kids know what that is. We might not understand it, but I don't think it's on there. And I don't know if
it's creative arts.
Creative arts, but again, it might be too jargony, so maybe it's not clear enough. We've also done it like art and create or make and create activities.
Make and create. Have that somewhere. Yeah, we kind of moved away from.
I think
capital
that's
and
visual and creative arts.
Visual and creative arts in our community.
But I agree with you in that makerspace is a term that everybody who does it knows what it's like. Everybody who has a kid or works with kids knows that's the catchphrase they use now. So every school you go to has a makerspace now.
Yeah.
Not libraries and makerspace.
So that was the only one I kind of just thought, is it worth being a little jargony, especially because there's not a lot of word teen.
If that's
on here.
something that parents know,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
we certainly want to capture them as feeling like we're sensitive to their.
I think it's something that parents would know, and because it comes with an implied resource access as well as space, right? A makerspace isn't just like, oh, you can use community room 4. It's the fact that it comes with crafting materials.
Yes, exactly, that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Can we put that under shared?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shared
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get to like a younger population, because the only word teen is once on here. So I just kind of felt like we're trying to get them in there.
Yeah, and I think visual, I think makerspace is more descriptive than visual creative arts.
Me too.
I'm imagining like.
But that's what.
Yeah.
That's why it's good for
That's
sharing.
the only one that I.
Can I ask like a weird one, like food trucks? Food trucks, one that people wanted?
Yeah, I did notice that.
Why are food trucks on here? I think it's.
I guess that's, but yeah, why are food trucks?
We see a lot of communities' interest in supporting local food trucks and vendors, especially in like park-like settings. So being able to, but again, these are kind of our top list. If there's ones that just don't fit right, then let's strike it.
I think if there's anything on here that seems like it would be confusing, that would be the one, because as we just said, it's like, why, what does that mean?
Well, so the potential would be, because it's right over next to drop off and loading. So I'm assuming that you're building in a space for parked food trucks so that you could essentially like space out to food trucks. So there's food trucks that come and they're like, hey, South Pasadena, what would be your fee for me to park here every Monday afternoon? Then it would be a potential revenue source / snackable.
So I think between the farmer's market on Thursdays and then the library does that already. They bring in for the events, so you've had the kids space events and you've had the ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
So you've had food trucks come in for specific events. So I think there's plenty of parking.
I feel like food trucks, if we're gonna use them, we're gonna do the footprint we already do, like the farmer's market footprint, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that we're in a residential neighborhood is to be considered as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll take it off. No problem.
Otherwise, I think you did an excellent job of coalescing the cacophony that this committee had.
Great. And if you see anything, yes, email Kathy and we'll get that incorporated. This will be a big piece in the survey, so we'll need to get this locked in shortly. And so I think the last item that we had was, again, we did not know what flyer you're going to pick. So the survey that we can launch will show you has not been branded per the selection that we made tonight. But I think there was a lot of questions of what the survey looks like and how does that work. And so we thought it might be beneficial just to click through it and just so you could get it like a test run kind of like view of how the survey, how your residents would engage the survey. So, well, Vicki, if you can click the link or launch it.
Can I ask a very silly question?
Yeah.
This picture, is this going to be used in any way in the
we will be branding it, the PowerPoint, whatever presentations that we do, we brand it with the flyer and that information. So
I think I'd like to lose that very prominent trash can.
Justin about it. He's gonna blow it out.
Okay.
We're gonna take that out. It's symbolic of what's happening with the old side. And then you turn the page.
We're trashing the building.
Okay, so when the survey launch, it'll be branded like the flyer, and they'll see that image as they saw around town. When they click next, they'll be able to then jump right into what would you like at the new library. You know, we're still working this out, but Vicki can illustrate. Basically, they'll be able to, you can see, select more than one item with the check mark. And so all the things that they're interested in, what kind of programs or services that they would like to do at the new library, they can click on those. They can also, again, write in if there's anything else, let us know, and they can fill in additional write-in forms. So that was something that was asked last time, like, you know, can we people suggest other new things that we haven't prompted them to, yes. And then that will get collected. And if we, again, start seeing a similar item coming up, we'll add that to the list when we start talking about the feedback that we've heard. Once they've gone through the library, they'll click to the next slide. What maybe senior and community recreation activities that you'd like to do at the reimagined campus. And they'd be able to click through those items or suggest additional ones. And then I think there is at the bottom sort of starts to say, hey, we also are going to ask you about some shared spaces. So you might want to hold off until you get to the next question if you're seeing something that you don't like or that is missing. Just to sort of let people know, no, don't start writing in too many other things because there's one more step. And so once they get to the bottom of that, they'll be able to click next. Down here. And then the last one, shared between, I think what we just talked about is, potentially shared community spaces. So we'll drop the library and senior, and then they'll be able to talk about some shared programs and activities.
Awesome.
And then one final write-in area for that. And then we'll get to the outdoors at the library park campus, what they would like to do in the park spaces, and we'll update that. And again, they can write in. And then at the end of the survey, we'll tell us about yourself and why we're asking these questions. We'll, again, the dots, we can put in additional disclaimers and incentives to hopefully get them to finish it off. So those are the same that we kind of just talked about, and we'll update those per our comments. And then of course, thank you. And then a reminder of other events if they wanted to attend any of these. And if you'd like to receive emails, they can sign up and they'd enter their email and that would go into the city's email blast. So in the future, they would be able to keep informed. And I think there was also a request to add on here the city's website. We can add a link to the city's website so they can jump there. If you have any additional questions, please visit the city's website for their project page and their FAQ. So we can add that added information at the end of this as well. So it's kind of just in not a final form, but a draft form of just a little bit of how that looks.
That's great.
That's great. QR code is live, so right. I tried it on my phone first.
We'll change. We're gonna change it.
Eventually, we'll clear all these draft responses before we launch it. So don't worry if you fill it out. We clear it and then we start new on day one because we know I've been testing it and Vicky's. We're all in there trying it out. So you don't have to worry about getting count twice.
Just recall Mayor Braun had some concerns about the pictures last time.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought we were switching to like infographics.
Yep.
So I'm just what happened with that?
The project team talked with G4 about that, and I think Dawn and their team can speak to it because we have the same question.
Yeah, and so we did look at infographics. We have not used infographics before on these type of surveys. We find that the pictures kind of really communicate many words, and the infographics are just confusing. Like when we look at infographics even of books for all ages, how do you communicate that with an infographic in these little squares? And so we're still strong proponents of using the images and just making sure we select images very sensitively, have a good cross-section of the community represented in images, and really try, because we're asking about programs and spaces and services and not spaces, my bad. And so we don't, we'll map these different programs and services and activities to the spaces that we recommend. And so we are strongly recommending that we stay with the images. Think it'll be much more effective and keep people engaged all the way through the survey.
Do you happen to change them from what we saw last time? Were these updated?
They look different. They look different and I like them better, but I don't know if that was just me.
Yes, the photos have changed since
Okay.
the last version. Yeah.
Hope the mayor will like them too. I like them better. So just wanted to point that out and thanks for closing that loop so we know what happened with that.
Oh,
And I know
thank
think there's some pictures that are like of our community. I think I saw Bob Joe. Yeah. Right. So maybe we take everywhere, you know, if it's appropriate, we might have pictures of these.
No, the pictures are up on there.
Straight.
Yeah.
Anything else for the team and move forward? Do you have anything else for the committee?
Nope, that was, as I said, we'll take all of this feedback along with the branded look and feel and start working on the final boards and survey so that we could launch on the 15th.
Thank you. Appreciate your.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So what time is it? Almost 9 o'clock. So
That's right.
yeah, and it's easy to do because I'm gonna send you this stuff, the email, I'll put it on the Google Drive. So the next item is just the in-person outreach schedule. We've been working on expanding that into April and May since that's when the surveys can be open. So basically like the 2 first weeks of March, there were a few things in there, but we're really sort of not doing those because we're moving. I've been talking to some other people. I think Jasmine said she could do one of the PTAs, but we also have a couple of trustees who are, you know, president of their PTA. So we've got some different people in the mix that can do some of this outreach. We are on the agendas for the commissions, the city's commissions. Some of these, because the outreach in person is the 9th and the 10th, we're gonna also have to communicate with them like via email and ask the staff liaison to share information, because if we're meeting with, I don't know, somebody on a commission on the 6th, it's kind of short notice. So it'll be a combination of both going to the commissions and giving them a little slideshow and the overview and, you know, getting a Q&A and finding out what else they want to know, but also making sure they get the information in time to participate in person if they would like to. So we're just going to finalize that and put it back out to you guys so that you can see it. And if there's any gaps, I mean, I think that in terms of assignments and who's going where, because there are still gaps, you know, staff will probably just do those things. And then there's a lot of organizations that, you know, they don't have meetings. So again, it'll be pushing information out to them in a hopefully a personalized way so that it doesn't just kind of go in people's trash or spam. You know, I've reached out to a number of people about their agency and how, you know, how can we get you to share this for us? And then, oh, sure, we'll do it. You know, so I think it's just outreach. It's just taking the time to make the arrangements. So is that any questions about that? I should be able to share that back out to you guys tomorrow. And if there's no questions. So the next thing on here is the visits to other sites, library sites, senior center sites, community center sites, combined library, senior center sites. There was a list in the packet, but Group 4 has been doing some research and put together a list also that I'm going to share with you. I think what would be nice to do, because there's a lot of choices, is to give you that information and let you guys maybe kind of vote on what you think you would like to visit. And then once we get that input back, we can kind of narrow that in and figure out the logistics and the geography. Like right now we're looking at, you know, Yorba Linda Diamond Bar, there's kind of these places. We're thinking we would do site visits on the 9th during the day before the engagement starts in the evening. And then again on the 10th during the day after the engagement is finished in the morning.
So where are how far of a distance, I guess, is the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. That's why we will get all of the input on which ones you're most interested in, and then try to see how can we make that work. I mean, it's such a big geographic area, it could take an hour and 15 minutes to get somewhere. So it's a logistical thing really to try to figure it out. And I think that we can also ask the question about when is it best for you? I mean, obviously a lot of people are not going to be able to do this in the middle of the day. So do you want to go on a Saturday, that kind of thing? So maybe we can pose that question as well.
Is it possible if like there's 3 libraries we all want to go to, but if I can't come that day, I could just go another day?
Yeah, I think that for, so there are a number of libraries that aren't local, right? That are really, resonate with us, right? That we should see them, but we're obviously not going there. So they are going to put together some kind of virtual visits, and also for the visits that we're doing in person, if you can't go, we'll make sure you have like a little, here's what you need to know to go, and, right? Isn't that what you guys are thinking?
Yeah, we have put basically like tour packets together, and so we put a little, it's like an open house, you know, you kind of get all the information, a floor plan, you know, links to videos. Sometimes libraries now, you know, you can walk through them just like an open house. So a lot of these public libraries have seen, or, you know, have options to do that. So if you can't visit in person, you can virtually visit them. And so there's lots of ways if you can't attend on the in-person to still provide feedback.
These libraries that are new builds, what are these libraries that we're looking at?
Yeah, we want to do some new libraries in senior community and some mixed use. So we're trying to kind of hit a lot of different pieces. You know, if it's a brand new library that we'd really want to go see because it has a lot of great services, maybe it's not integrated with a community center, but there's still a lot of value in visiting just a standalone library. We'd want to still look at that. We do want to see and look at some facilities that are joint use, and then potentially even look at some libraries or centers that have been, you know, remodeled, that they're existing historic, whether the right century or era that potentially your Carnegie is, but, you know, what can you do in a remodel? How could somebody reimagine a space, and what did they learn when they kind of remodeled an existing facility? So we were thinking of a couple different aspects in the tour.
We have an opportunity to talk to like the library director at those spaces, because I think what's really helpful, I did a project on LA Library last year, and I think it was really helpful was understanding their use of the space and their vision for the future, more than just like looking at the library, but understanding where they fit into the community. Because I think their community really impacts what they're doing in that space.
Yeah, for the group trips, we would definitely be meeting with staff, directors, et cetera, maybe even architects sometimes. On the self, if you go by yourself, I probably try to connect you with certain, you know what I mean? Like if we plan it and I can reach out and say, I have someone coming, can you spend a little time with them? I'm sure they'd say yes.
Sure.
So, but yes, as I think for sure on the group tours, we'll be connected in those places.
Yeah, and I really think if we can, I think some of us or all of us need to look at our existing space. Like a lot of us maybe only see the public space, but we don't really see the working space. Yes. So if we're going to go out, what do we, it's not that we need to compare and contrast, but we can do. And I really think we need a real tour of the senior center, the common spaces, the staff spaces, the bathrooms, the storage spaces, so we can really see what we have and don't have.
And you know, like I've only been to the last couple of meetings, but what I realized is sitting here that there's a wealth of knowledge in this room. So what I realized sitting here is that there's a wealth of knowledge in this room. And I think walking through the spaces currently and having that understanding of how the uses, but you know, when we have somebody who's a gerontologist in the space, that's huge because it can be providing information on future needs and understanding what we are evolving towards. So where our limitations are. So I'd love to get that, and coming from all of the different backgrounds that people have in here. I can't remember everybody's curves, but I've just been very impressed with what I've been hearing coming out of everybody, so.
You know, one thing that I thought about last time and didn't say is, you know, the Pasadena Library, big central library is closed, and they're doing this big reimagining of what they're going to do there. They have a huge homeless population, and they're trying to figure out, are they going to have real homeless services as part of the library? I know it's a big deal at this library. The train station's right there. The senior center, they have to deal with the bathrooms all the time. I mean, they closed off the garden area because homeless people were hanging out in there. And I just wonder how this and all the gardens and all the wonderfulness is going to work with that.
Well, and so when I went to the LA library, one of the things they talked about was how they're evolving into what they can be doing in the community. And actually, that's one of the things I brought back with my thoughts here is that a lot of the outreach type services and directing might be something we want to be considering incorporating as part of what the library looks like. If there's a social worker on staff, we can go out and help direct because people are coming off of the train and say, this is where you need to be going. Like, thinking of it in that sense. So even the YMCA, they just are doing a full rebuilding of the YMCA, and they're looking at it as their role as community health. And just, so that's the kind of, I think, exactly visions of what we need to be thinking from this. You know, the community will say these are our needs, but we also need to be looking and saying, what are the needs that aren't being expressed?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I said, and we got to make sure that the space is also a place for staff to work. Right. So it's, you know, we really got to see what the staff are working in right now. Right. Yeah.
Just in your the list where people will choose what they like. I'm guessing some of these terms here, like when it says community resiliency, is what was just mentioned about kind of a place to provide community services or community resources. I agree, it's really important. LA Central Library is a great example of that. I give tours of the building, but the services that are offered there is incredible. And I know we have some of that here too, but it also requires space. I just want to make sure that that option is somewhere under shared library and community.
It's a little bit under community resiliency. It's also underlined in some things, but we have brought that more to the forefront. So if we want to talk about it as a community resource or a resource to city services, we can kind of be more specific about it. The community resiliency is also just about providing a place for your community to go to, and like an emergency operation center, but a place to gather information or to find resources in times of need. So
we might want to rename that from community resiliency, I don't know what, disaster.
Yeah, we got to be careful on the term because we don't want to imply that it is a type of center that meets a certain, there's some regulations, if you call it certain things, right, that get tied to maybe a great thing from a grant or funding perspective, but adds cost to the building. So we have some other terms. So I was not going to eliminate that. I was going to try to make it better, easier to understand what we were trying to say there, because I think it's an important aspect to this type of facility.
Rich, if I understood, you're talking about sort of like an information clearinghouse with city resources. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, again, and I don't want to get sideways with your strategic plan. But it's the idea, and again, I think this library does some of it, but I've seen others where they'll have, on the first Saturday of the month, they're going to have a course for people who want to learn how to fill out the paperwork to become a citizen, kind of services that you might not otherwise get. Or again, you can kind of go overboard on it, but I do think that the library has that sense that it's open to the community, and that especially to provide services, not just maybe services that nobody in this room may need to use, but that there's others that need to use. Again, in terms of how that looks, that's not my role, but I do want to throw that out.
Well, and LA Library is massive, and it's a massive scale, but it is interesting, right? I mean, it does mix in historic elements with modern elements. It's looking at multiple, like, where they fit into the library of the future. They definitely have a thought and a vision around it. It's very close. Somebody in this room has a contact there. Tom's wife is a longtime librarian at LA City Library, but just saying like that might be an option too. I know it's not one of the newer libraries, but it does have a lot of elements that they would go, including maker spaces and meeting spaces and flex spaces.
I would like to focus our attention to at least a couple of facilities that are the mixed use though.
Yeah.
I know that the library is, you know, like what I like to call it, the library park campus, but it's the focus I'm hoping for is on all of the elements. So I'd like to see how that's been done in other locations.
And we did talk about with Lucy, Melissa, and Kathy about making if we don't, sometimes that is great to see in a facility, but sometimes just a conversation with their staff of how they operate these types of facilities when they're co-located. So each community approaches joint facilities differently. But in the end, they have to operate them all sort of as two different departments, right? Even though there's one building. So if we don't see that in the tours, we've definitely talked with staff about making sure we have good conversations with other operators in cities that have done this type of facility and how what are the operational struggles that they've had to do? What kind of staffing had they had to create or reinvent because of this new kind of entity or joint facility. And so that might not always be evident on a tour, or maybe all of you don't want to get so much in the weeds for that part. But we're definitely going to do that from a technical staff standpoint.
It doesn't add the conversation forward. It just more so acknowledges that I think that it's a great idea to see the staff spaces, they're not on top of each other, but also thinking ahead too of like the community service spaces. So as Monrovia goes through its community center redesign right now, there's been a very purposeful look at making sure staff space is separate from the providers that do homeless outreach services, also from a privacy standpoint. So that way people coming in don't feel like they're necessarily coming into a government building that's going to oversee things, and they can go into a closed space with a social worker. And if that is something that, the community wants to consider in the future, having some of that in mind, gives staff their space and then these community providers their space, and everyone can get their needs met. Also from a kitchen standpoint, just saying this as a public works person, and I know there's very capable public works staff here that I'm sure are thinking about this, but you are going to have a kitchen with classes and SB 1383 compliance, and of course the size of trash enclosures, and having green space is green organic space is gonna be critical too. So yeah, I know
a lot of things that have come way down the road, but yes.
No, I
to think about way later. We'll make sure we program the trash area accordingly to the type of food service that we're providing at this level, at least. But we're well aware of those. And we've also dealt with having community service spaces that aren't necessarily integrated into staff, separate. Essentially, just think of a small group study room or meeting room that's just dedicated to that type of service. So that's definitely something that we've been integrating into these types of programs.
That sounds good.
Okay.
That's what we put that out for everybody to kind of weigh in on what sounds good, and then we'll start to look at the actual, mapping it and how we would do it and get there.
Right.
I'll put out that I would definitely not be able to go during a weekday, but if there's ever someone who also can't go during a weekday would like to carpool somewhere on a weekend, I'd be happy to do that with you.
Well, I mean, there's so many to visit. And again, because it's such a spread out area, we probably will have to do like 3 trips, and we could definitely these guys wouldn't necessarily be able to go to all of them, but if we do one on a Saturday or something. So we'll try to do that to make sure, because I think a lot of people are going to struggle to take off a full day, basically. So I think that we have a few little communications things, but group 4, thank you. Do you want to hang up?
Oh, before they go?
Yes.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Before you guys go, they met with the Senior Citizen Commission last week, and on the commission at that meeting, we had represented Southwest Preservation, Oneonta Club, Rotary Club, Chinese American Club, We had Huntington Garden Director of Facilities, and it was a really good meeting. They were presenting, it was away from all this, it was really presenting what senior stuff might look like and their past experience in designing senior areas. And as you can imagine, they asked a lot of hard questions, but it was really good. It was really nice to actually kind of see some meat and potatoes. And so we were very encouraged, and I think they'll be good spokespeople as well for the project.
And I don't think we have any friends here, but, oh, yes, we do. Sorry. Really tired. And you guys met with them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we met
Yeah.
before our meeting last week. So, yeah, it was very good.
Talking about, again, specific like bookstore space.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you know,
stuff
their
that's really-
specific issues.
Yeah.
That's actually, I don't know why we haven't thought about that.
It's on,
Oh, we
it's on
have.
here somewhere.
They have.
Yes.
That's it.
Well, we're thinking about it, so don't worry.
All right, you guys, thank you so much.
Thank you all. Have a great evening. I'll see you all soon.
Bye.
So we're on to item 6, which is committee member communications. Does anyone have anything to share? No. Staff communications, I'm looking at staff. No, everyone's like, let's wrap it up. Any public comment? I don't think so, because we didn't have any at the beginning, so we wouldn't have any at the end. So I'm going to adjourn the meeting to our next regular meeting is April 3rd. I don't think we'll have a need for any special meetings between now and then, but if that comes up, we'll address it. Because that should give us time to meet before they're on site again. So
Small clarification, are you suggesting that the dates we would potentially do things is the 9th and the 10th of April, or is this?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah, we're thinking, because they would like to go with
I
us,
understand.
at least some of the time, they,
So-
you know.
If we can make that happen, we should set it aside. Okay, got it.
Yeah, yes.
Got it.
The 9th, like from the morning to getting back
We
here
can
in
maybe
time
get
for
an
them to
email,
set up for theirs.
an email out
Yeah,
to
I
us
can
with
fill
those
that out.
guided, so
And
that'd be
probably
great.
too.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we're adjourned?
Yeah, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There